hard to join it, and that's why Canadians are doing better than they were before.
From like being sick or anything, he was like killed, you know. He was like stabbed in here and he bled out.
Toronto police say 16-year-old Gabrielle Magaloish was sitting on a bench at this Toronto subway station Saturday evening.
Shocked the region.
Police say Ken Lee was stabbed and beaten to death on December 18th by a group of teenage girls.
Starbucks for Paul Schmidt, who was fatally stabbed on Sunday. The 37-year-old was at the coffee shop with his wife and daughter at about 5:30 Sunday when he was stabbed following what police have called a brief altercation.
For joining us. We begin with breaking news tonight. A number of people were hurt in a stabbing spree through downtown Calgary. Police say a man stabbed and assaulted at least 4 people, all in a matter of minutes, and they are not sure of the motive. This is the man police took into custody in the East Village this afternoon.
These are the names of murdered women from across Canada, including at least 10 killed by their male partner or ex-partner in BC.
I'm coming here to ask Trudeau, Canadian to Canadian, who's doing better? Who's doing better than, and what are you talking about? Are you talking about before you, or are we talking about before pandemic? Because I remember what it was like to be here when Harper was here, and I don't remember ever. I used to go downtown Toronto by myself at the age of 18, and I don't ever remember being scared for my life, ever. And now my children will not have that option because I will not let them go downtown Toronto anymore with the way it looks. And I know that Doug Ford has an opinion about this too, and I'm just going to insert this clip.
Certainly like being out in the field.
Families have ever been to resist. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the communities. They don't care about keeping the subways safe. They just want to go out there and cause havoc in our communities. Instead, the federal government has continued to resist common sense changes to keep people safe. You have the whole country screaming, we need to make changes, and they're dilly-dallying along. Like there's no urgency. There's no urgency because none of their families have ever been affected. They haven't seen the safety. They're protected behind the big golden gates of Parliament. That's unacceptable.
What are you waiting for? Well, I'll tell you what he's waiting for. He's waiting for us to completely cave in on each other before he swoops in and tries to save the day as some, I don't know, President Snow, just a name I thought of. He's doing this on purpose because the more I dig into the past of the Liberals, the more that I know that they're so full of crap that they have no idea what they're doing. They're abandoning people with mental health issues. They're not helping them, okay? And I'm not saying that whatever was going on during the Conservative era was right either, but that is not what you do. You do not abandon people. And I work in the schools. I worked in the schools. I know what goes on in the schools. I've seen it firsthand. Kids are not allowed to be in trouble. It's literally, it's a gong show because they put all of the spec ed students in the classrooms with no support, hardly. They'll split the time between students. Sometimes you're working with 5 students at a time. The environment is too much for them to handle. It's a lot. So I watched this all happen within the school system because I'm watching the school system firsthand. And then I'm applying it to all of these other things that I'm reading about because there's this woman and her name is, and I'm going to put the little wiki page that I looked at. From Southern Ontario. Now you know why there's so much mental health crisis in St. Thomas, because they were just allowed to just abandon people with mental health issues. And I'm just asking, where is this going to get better? Because if you oh my god. So if you're from if you're from Southern Ontario and you know St. Thomas, you will know that St. Thomas is extremely filled with people who have mental health issues because they shut down the hospital there. So when I think about all of these things and I think about, wow, like how far we've come, have we really come that far? Are our students better off now than they were before Kathleen Wynne came in. And I'm just wondering, like, when are we going to take this seriously enough to vote in the Conservatives? And I know that people are very scared to vote Conservative because you're very distrusting of the government. And believe me, as somebody who read the emails of Hillary Clinton, almost hyper fixated on them, I want you to know that I don't trust the government either. But I also know that at least this other form of government will lead us, the people who deserve it, into safety, and the people who need mental health to be taken care of mentally. Please, we have a mental health crisis in Canada right now. It's not a gun crisis. The crime is not being carried out by guns. I'm so sick of seeing Canadians being brainwashed by whatever media is telling them that guns need to be taken away. We are not the states. We are not the states. To be worried about the states right now is, I understand, because they are under a lot of attack too, but don't conflate the two, because if we're going to talk about that, we're going to talk about how, people's bank accounts were frozen for one thing, but not another. And we're going to talk about how Pierre Poilievre, what he's going to do. So I'm going to insert the clip of what Pierre Poilievre's plan is to help with bail reform.
Have the guts to stand up and answer the question? Of course not. He's protected by armed men every single day. So he's not worried about the streets that are turning into savage chaos since he brought about catch and release bail. We don't need to work with the provinces to change the bail laws. They are exclusively the federal jurisdiction right in the criminal code. The Prime Minister has unleashed a 32% increase in violent crime since he brought in the catch and release bail policies. Will he finally summon the courage to stand on his feet, admit he was wrong, reverse the policies, and choose jail, not bail, for violent offenders?
I know that people will laugh at me and that I probably won't have as many friends, but hey, when the revolution happens, are we really going to be able to get a hold of each other anyways? I have no idea. I have no idea what in the Hunger Games you guys need to rewatch and not see that we are basically to the point where I don't know what needs to happen. But as someone who used to be a socialist, I'm here to tell you, no one that's in charge right now will ever have our best interest in mind. And right now, the humanoids, they need control. They need a conservative government to come in. We need people to be brought back to reality again, and we need help. We are struggling as a mom of somebody, I have ADHD, and we need more help than this. And the people who are injured, they need help. I struggle to breathe. I know people are going to be like, why don't you have a job? I'm trying to have my own business, but even when you speak out about things like this, even when you're speaking out against femicide, it's a hot take. It's a hot take to not want MAID to be given to 12-year-olds. This government is not on our side. And I always used to very much be on board with MAID, and there's not to say that I don't believe in MAID still for certain circumstances, but I also just wonder what quality of life that we're providing Canadians that they would rather die than be alive. How bad our healthcare system has to be. Truly. So please, think about what's going on. Don't just vote because somebody tells you that it's a good idea. Our budget, we can't afford life. And when you put more people into poverty, there's going to be more violence, which they clearly don't care about with their new budget. And when you do these things, there's just I could keep going. I'll go on tomorrow about the second thing that I think that they're doing to ramp up, fear and stuff, because people will come on here and say that I'm fear mongering, but I'm not. I'm living everyday reality. I moved 7 hours for us to be able to afford life, and now we can't afford life again. So I'm here. I don't even have a microphone in front of me. because my microphone broke. My friend screwed me over and stole a lot of money from me because she said that my photography pictures weren't worth it, and then called the police on me, because that's how Canada works, my friends. And then when I said, well, can't you just shake her down for some money? Can't you just intimidate her a bit? Like, she's using our taxpayer resources to phone the police on me because she doesn't want to pay for the services that she used. This is just the type of Canada that we live in, that you could commit a crime. And if you are, I literally didn't, there was no harassment. There was one email, and I obviously laid it into her because she was my friend, and then she stole money from me. And yeah, the police got called on me. This is the Canada we live in. And that type of shit can drive people crazy. And that's just one situation where I'm like so dumbfounded by our stupid law enforcement that they would even entertain that. And by the way, her sister was the one that messaged me and told me that my pictures were shit and that I was crazy and all this stuff, harassing me. The police got called on me. This is the Canada we live in, okay? And I think that they genuinely do this to drive up the crazy. I think that we all know that something wasn't as serious as it was, and locking people in their houses for longer than 2 weeks is just absurd. And all of the last 3 years, everybody that you've watched die, and all of these things, I wanted to stop, okay? I'm coming to you guys vulnerable. This is stupid. I don't want to cry. This is dumb. I'm not some family vlogger crying about being sorry. I am just tearing up because the Canada that I knew as a kid is not the Canada that my kids will know. And we have so much potential in this world to be ahead of the game in engineering, and we have so much universities, and what are they doing? All they're talking about is ideologies and theories and all of these things when we could be doing work. What is happening to Canada? And I implore you, if you're watching this without a child, to understand why maybe a parent would be worried right now as to what's going on. Please just hear this and know that no matter what happens, I will always take accountability. I was always the one screaming at Trump, and I was always the one, writing statuses about Trump. I will always. Oh, and I knew that that there's pictures of him and Epstein. I knew all of that, so I never trusted him to begin with, but I also never trusted Trudeau. I never voted for Trudeau. So I know, I have some sort of, that was a long time ago too, and I remember being like, well, I really want weed to be legal, but I still know that in my core, I know that he's not good. And I was right. Jack Layton should have won. Okay, so that's it for today's video, because if I keep going, I'm gonna get mad. So Justin Trudeau, Liberals, this is on you right now to stop. And in the meantime, how can we get an election called? How do we do this? How do we do this? Because we're being censored and censored more and more. Okay, so like and subscribe, please. It makes Trudeau mad. I am not CBC. Like I said, I went to school to be in like a CBC type of role, and I thought that they were gross while I was in school. So I have nothing to gain except for maybe hopefully making some money, so I could maybe have a microphone and make myself a little space that's not my son's closet to make a video. Okay, so don't forget, my tummy hurts and I hate the government. Jab.